Welcome back to Mac Talks, a football and its match day 10 in the Premier League. What a match day it was on match day night last week. A lot of big results, a lot of big games, big controversies as usual involving the referees, and then there comes the news about Eric Ten Hag getting the sack. So a lot of exciting thing happens the previous weekend, and of course we can hope that the same happen this weekend, and we get to enjoy another great weekend of football. I'm going to make my prediction for match day at 10. 1 point if my entire prediction is correct, and half a point if my prediction is not correct. And we'll see at the end of the weekend how many of my predictions are come true. So let's go ahead and start the first game. It is Newcastle versus my club Arsenal. Now Newcastle, they are in a really bad form at the moment. They have not won a single game in the last 5 games. They have lost three of the last 5 games, two defeats in a row. They are losing the games that you would expect Newcastle to win. If I'm being very honest with you, and the season started for them very good, but since then they have dropped a lot of points, and they are now playing an Arsenal side who themselves are in a situation. If you really look at it, like they have lost 5 points in a space of 2 weeks. They lost to Bournemouth, which again was quite controversial. Then they drew to Liverpool, which again was quite controversial. The funny thing is, like, Arsenal have lost points in 4 games, and all four of those games had a controversial referee decisions. And if all of those decisions wouldn't have happened, I don't think Arsenal drop any of the points. But that's a different thing. Things have happened. We can criticize all we want, but we need to look forward to the next weekend game. And I think Arsenal know that how important and how massive this game is. Already there's a 5 point gap between them and City. There's a 2 point gap between them and Liverpool, and they cannot really afford to drop any more points if they really want to be in the title challenge. Aston Villa are right on their heels. They are level on points with Aston Villa. Chelsea are just a point behind. So there are not just the teams above them, there are teams behind them who are catching up. So Arsenal know it's a very important game, and with the way that Newcastle are playing, with the form that they are in, that it literally becomes a must-win game for them. And I think they are gonna win. I think it will be a close game, but I think Arsenal are gonna go ahead and get the job done. I'm going for a 3-1 win for Arsenal. The next game is Liverpool versus Brighton. It is second versus sixth. Both these teams are in a really good form. They met on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup round of 16, where Liverpool won the game eventually 3-2, and they knocked Brighton out of the tournament. Brighton were the home side that they are the away side this weekend. I think it will be another interesting game. It will be another exciting games. Liverpool themselves, this is the first time that they have sort of fallen behind from Manchester City with that 3 point gap that City now have over Liverpool. So they themselves know that they cannot also afford to draw and lose any more points if they really want to stay in that title picture. I think it will be a very close game. Brighton, they are on a very good run. They are going in patches. They started the season very good, and then there were a couple of 2-3 weeks where they really did not perform that good. And then from the last 2-3 weeks, again they are performing. They have got a possible 7 out of the last 9 points that they could have get. So they are coming in this game with a good momentum, and they would have a sort of a bit of revenge on their mind as well, because as I said, Liverpool eliminated them from the Carabao Cup over in the midweek. So I think I think it will be a very exciting game. This could go either way, but I think I am going to sit on the fence. I think it will be an exciting game, and I think it will end up in a draw. I am going for a 2-all draw between Liverpool and Brighton. The next game is a big game. It is Ipswich Town versus Leicester City. It is 18th versus 15th. Now Ipswich, they have still not won a single game in the Premier League. 9 games have gone, but there have been games where they have come very close to winning a game, but unfortunately they were not able to get over the line. They are playing a Leicester side who themselves, like Ipswich, started the season really badly, but they have now gotten a couple of good wins under their belt. But the fact is they are not that much ahead of them. There's just a 3-point difference between them and Leicester, and Ipswich know that if they can get the win, they can get themselves out of the relegation zone, and they can drag Leicester back into the relegation scrap. I think it will be a very tight game. Leicester, they lost last weekend against Nottingham Forest in a very convincing way. Ipswich, they themselves lost. Ipswich are on a 4-game a losing streak, and I think it is going to be a very tough game for them. But just because they are at home and the way that Ipswich like to play, I think they might go ahead and get something out of this game. I don't think they are going to win, but I don't think they are going to lose. But I think their winless run is going to continue. I'm going for a very close, very narrow, low-scoring draw. I'm going for a 1-all draw between Ipswich and Leicester City. Moving on to the next game, it's Bournemouth versus Manchester City. It is 11th versus first. Bournemouth, they are quite inconsistent. If I'm being very honest with you, play a great game one weekend, and then the next weekend they are all over the place. They have going on a sort of a mini revival from the last 2-3 weeks. They have drawn and they won against Arsenal. They drew last weekend against Aston Villa as well. Last minute goal, and they somehow got a point out of that. I don't think they deserved a point, but it's Premier League and anything can happen. So they got a point from that game, and now they are gonna welcome the champions Manchester City, who are now the only remaining team who have not lost a single game this season. They are on cloud 9. They have 3 points lead over Liverpool. They have a 5-point lead over Arsenal. So they know they are at the moment they are in a very safe space, and I think. And that is why Pep Guardiola, the fact is he rested most of his players for that Carabao Cup tie as well. I think he had already given up on that competition. I think he's concentrating more on the Champions League and the Premier League this year. And they are gonna come with a full a fresh squad that got rested properly, and they are gonna play against a Bournemouth. I don't think there is any other result apart from a City win, and I think it could end up being an embarrassing win. But the thing is, City are really struggling this season with the teams who defend defend deep. The low block, they are not really able to break it down. They struggled against Wolves. They struggled against Southampton, and I think they might end up struggling against Bournemouth as well. It will be a tough game. I will not be surprised if City go ahead and draw points in this game. But it is City. You cannot write them off, and I'm not gonna do that. I think it will be a very close game, and I think City will edge it. I'm going for a 2-1 win for Manchester City. The next game is Southampton versus Everton. It is a 20th versus a 16th. Now Southampton are now one of the 3 teams who have still not won a game in the season till now, and they are playing against an Everton side who are in a sort of a revival. They have been really good in the last 3-4 weeks, and they are continuing to get those points and trying to get away from this relegation scrap. And I think their luck is gonna continue. They got a last minute equalizer in their previous game as well, and they rescued a point in that game. Southampton, on the other hand, they are all over the place. They are losing games for the fun of it at the moment, and I think it is gonna continue for them. I think they are gonna, even though they are at home, I still think they are gonna lose this game, and I think Everton are in a way gonna win it quite convincingly as well. I'm going for a 2-0 win for Everton. The next game is Nottingham Forest versus West Ham United. It is a 7th versus a 13th. Nottingham Forest are having an amazing season. Nobody expected them to have such a good season. Nobody expected them to be in this position after 9 games, but they are exceeding expectations, and they are playing really, really good. They have won their last 2 games. They've just lost once in their last 5 games, so they are in a really good form. They are playing against a West Ham side who have been quite inconsistent, and unlike Nottingham Forest, they are being not playing like everybody expected them to. They have underperformed massively. They are 13th at the moment, and they will now be known as the team that got Erik ten Hag sacked because they won last week against Manchester United. It was quite a controversial way to win the game. That penalty was never a penalty in a million years, but they get the penalty and they score, and then Erik ten Hag gets the sack. So they will be in a way be remembered for that. I think it will be a very tough game. I think Nottingham Forest, as I said, they're in such a good form, and they are playing at home. West Ham, they will be quite their confidence would be boosted by that win against United, but they are going away to a team who I said are in a really good form, and I think it will be a very tough game for West Ham. They could quite easily lose this game, but I think this game is going to end up in a draw, but it will be an entertaining draw. I'm going for a 2-2 draw between Nottingham Forest and West Ham United. The next game is a huge one. It is Wolves versus Crystal Palace. It is 19th versus 17th. 2 teams like nobody thought they would be here after 9 games. 2 teams that are underperforming massively with the scores that they have. Wolves, they are still winless. Crystal Palace won their first game last weekend. So both of them are really struggling. But the thing is, both of them performed really good last weekend. Wolves somehow got the 2 goals in the last 5-7 minutes and got the equalizer. Got a 1 point in that game. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, they basically destroyed Tottenham Hotspur. Like, Spurs were dreadful in that game, and Palace dominated Spurs with a convincing win. And I think it could easily have been 2-3-0 if they had their shooting boots on. it was quite a dominating performance, and I think they would hope that they can continue this. Palace have already gotten their first win, as I said, and they would hope that they can continue to build on that and somehow get their win against the Wolves, and try to make space between them and the three teams at the bottom. I think it will be a tough game for both of them because of how much pressure both these teams are going to be in, and I think we are going to see a quite a fun game. But I think it is going to end up in a draw. I don't see anybody winning this game. I'm going for another 2-all draw between Wolves and Crystal Palace. The next game is Tottenham versus Aston Villa. It is 4th versus 8th. Now Villa are undefeated in their last 5 games, but 3 of them have been draws. They have sort of have a tendency to draw points where they shouldn't. If I'm being very honest with you, they should be winning those games, but they end up dropping points, and this has happened quite a lot this season. And I think that's why they are a 4th. Otherwise, they could have easily been at the 2nd position with the way that they have played and the performances that they have given. They are playing against a Tottenham side who have been quite inconsistent. They have won 3 out of their last 5 games, but they are still quite inconsistent, and you really don't know which Spurs are going to turn up. Last week they were dreadful against Crystal Palace, and this time even though they are at home, I still think it is going to be a very tough game. Aston Villa, they are they are playing really good this season, and they have the confidence of being in the Champions League and performing great in the Champions League as well. And I think that's a type of performances sort of gives the player another level of confidence to go and play. Usually I think it would be a very close game, but I don't know. I just think Aston Villa are the favorites going into this, and I think they are going to get a result out of this game. And unfortunately for Spurs fans, and I'm not saying this as an Arsenal fan, I think they are going to lose this game as well. They are the problem with Spurs is they are not consistent. You just don't know when they are going to crumble, and I think they are going to crumble this weekend as well. I think it will be a tight game, but I just think Villa are going to indicate. I'm going for a 2-1 win for Aston Villa. Then it's the biggest game of the weekend in the Premier League. It is Manchester United versus Chelsea. It is 14th versus 5th. Now, before the season started, a lot of people questioned Chelsea's tactics and the signings that they made, and a lot of people thought that Manchester United were going to have a great season, including me. I predicted Manchester United to finish 3rd, and I predicted Chelsea to be at 9th. But I did say that Maresca is the guy. I just thought that the amount of players that they have signed, it is going to take him time, and I kept on saying that they should give him time, because he is the guy that is going to bring Chelsea into the in the Champions League places, and maybe for after a year also maybe a challenge for the title. But he is ahead of his curve at the moment. Maresca has done an amazing job at Chelsea. I like the way that Chelsea are playing. You would not believe that this team was struggling last year. It doesn't matter how many players, and I think that it just shows how much of a good manager he is. He had already decided that I still remember his interview at the end of the transfer window when he said, I don't have 52 plus players, I just have 23 players. These are my players. And then there were players like for example Sterling. He was told very early on that you have to win. You need authority like that at a big club like Chelsea, where you have so many players, you have so many egos. You need a strong personality to handle that. And on the contrary, Manchester United are in all sort of disarray, and that the main problem is Erik ten Hag unfortunately did not have that type of a personality. He was not he did not have that authority. I've kept on saying that the problem at Manchester United are not the managers. I mean, you have had so many managers and world-class managers as well: Wenger, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Rangnick, now and Ten Hag. All of them cannot be wrong. It is the players' power that is working at United. They now have Ruud van Nistelrooy for a bit, and then they are getting that Sporting guy. Will he work? That's another question. But for this weekend, it's going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy. And for me, I think Chelsea and Maresca, they will be licking their lips at getting the opportunity to play them. And I really think that it could turn out to be a rout. I think Chelsea are literally going to thrash Manchester United. If I'm being very honest with you, the way that Manchester United played against Leicester, a lot of fans are really happy about it. I said that performance for me was shameful, because you could clearly see that the same players who couldn't kick a ball properly when Ten Hag was in charge, literally after the moment he gets sacked, they become world beaters. Casemiro, Fernandes, all these players, it was literally a coup against Ten Hag, and now they have Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think it will be a close game, but I think Chelsea are going to win it easily. I'm going for a 3-0, and I'm being very honest, it could quite easily be a 4-0 or 5-0 win for Chelsea as well, but I'm going for a 3-0 win for Chelsea. And the last game of the weekend is Fulham versus Brentford. It is 10th versus 9th. It is the London derby between these two clubs, and both these teams are quite inconsistent, but both these teams have been really entertaining this season. and I think it is going to be a very tough game for both of them. It's going to be a very entertaining game as well. Both these teams like to go forward, like to create chances, like to score goals, and the thinking for both of their manager is to outscore their opponents, and I think that is gonna end up making this quite an entertaining game for the fans. I think it will be a very interesting game, but I just don't see any winner out of these two teams. I think it will be a draw and an entertaining draw as well. It is a Monday night football as well. I think it will be a very good game of football. I'm going for a 3-all draw between a Fulham and a Brentford. And with that, my predictions for match day 10 of the Premier League are completed. We are going to see how many of them are correct and how many of them are quite off the mark. We'll see at the end of the weekend. You guys can play along with me. Make your predictions in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think of my predictions as well. Like the video, share it as well, click on the notification bell, and of course subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get to 450 subscribers by the end of November, so please help the channel subscribe to it. Until next time, bye bye.